Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to have you here today as we explore some key concepts in curriculum design. In this session, we'll cover Bloom's taxonomy and how it promotes higher-order thinking, the importance of alignment in connecting goals, tasks, and assessments, as well as SMART objectives for clear learning outcomes. We'll also dive into backward design, which starts with the end in mind. This is Module 3, Curriculum Design, and I look forward to guiding you through these essential ideas to enhance your teaching practices. Let's get started. Let's explore the core pillars that underpin effective curriculum design. First, we have deep understanding, which accounts for 25% of our focus. This means really grasping the content deeply so we can teach it effectively. Next is student achievement, making up 20%, emphasizing the importance of ensuring students succeed and reach their full potential. Then, we have strategic alignment at 25%, which involves aligning our curriculum with broader goals and standards to keep everything purposeful and focused. Lastly, intentional purpose, which is the largest at 30%, reminds us that everything we do should be purposeful and deliberate, guiding our decisions and actions. These four pillars, deep understanding, student achievement, strategic alignment, and intentional purpose, are the foundation of our curriculum design. They help us create a cohesive, meaningful learning experience that truly supports student growth and aligns with our educational goals. Now, let's take a closer look at how we will facilitate learning through activities and resources. This part of the plan focuses on engaging students actively with the material, ensuring they have the tools and support they need to succeed. Moving on, we'll discuss the learning plan itself, how we structure our lessons to guide students toward mastery. It's important to think about how we'll measure that mastery, which brings us to assessment design. Here, we design assessments that accurately reflect what students know and can do. As we consider what students should know, we focus on the big ideas and essential questions that drive the learning process. These key questions help focus instruction and deepen understanding. Finally, all of this is rooted in the desired results, clear objectives that align with the focus and phase of our backward design framework. This framework helps us plan intentionally, starting with the end in mind, so every activity and assessment supports our overall goals. Let's take a closer look at this slide. Here, we see that enduring understandings make up 30% of what we're focusing on. These are the core ideas that we want students to retain long-term, beyond just memorizing facts. Next, we have essential questions, also at 30%. These are open-ended questions designed to spark curiosity and encourage deep thinking about the key concepts. They guide inquiry and help students connect ideas more meaningfully. Then, there are the big ideas, which account for 40%. These are the overarching themes or principles that tie everything together. They help students see the bigger picture and understand how different concepts relate to each other within the overall subject. All of these components, enduring understandings, essential questions, and big ideas, are fundamental because they shape what we want students to achieve and understand. Finally, at the bottom, we see the phrase, desired results. This reminds us that our goal is to clearly identify what we want students to learn and be able to do as a result of this phase. So, in this phase, identify desired results. Our aim is to set a solid foundation by pinpointing these key elements to guide our instruction and ensure meaningful learning outcomes. Let's take a closer look at what sets us up for consistent success. First, we have clear criteria, which are essential because they give us a solid standard to measure our progress and ensure we're on the right track. Next, rubrics come into play. They help us evaluate our work with in-depth exploration over time, encouraging ongoing reflection and growth. Projects are also a key component. They allow us to apply what we've learned to real-world situations, making the knowledge more meaningful and practical. Finally, performance tasks are crucial because they simulate real challenges, helping us demonstrate our understanding in authentic ways. In Phase 2, we focus on determining the evidence. This is about identifying the best ways to show we've met our goals. When all these elements come together, they create a cohesive framework that guides us toward consistent success. let's take a look at slide 6, which focuses on aligning activities to support the desired results. In phase 3, we are planning learning experiences and instruction that truly drive those results forward. The key here is making sure every activity or lesson is purposefully aligned with our overall goals. This means carefully selecting and designing activities that directly support what we want learners to achieve. When we do this well, we create a clear pathway from instruction to results. Remember, the goal is to connect every piece of learning to the desired outcomes, ensuring that our efforts are focused and effective. This alignment is essential for making sure that all parts of our plan work together seamlessly to deliver the best possible results. Now, let's take a closer look at what makes a learning outcome truly effective. First up, time-bound, which accounts for 20%. This means setting a clear deadline or timeframe for achieving the outcome, so there's a sense of urgency and focus. Next, relevant, also 20%. The outcome should align with the overall goals and be meaningful to the learners and the context. Then, achievable, again 20%. It's important that the goal is realistic given the resources and time available, so learners can actually succeed. Following that, measurable, which makes up the next 20%. This means we can track progress and determine whether the outcome has been achieved, often through specific criteria or assessments. And finally, specific, also 20%. The outcome needs to be clear and precise, so everyone understands exactly what is expected. Putting it all together, we call this the SMART framework, an acronym that helps us craft effective learning outcomes. By focusing on these 5 elements, time-bound, relevant, achievable, measurable, and specific, we ensure our goals are well-defined and attainable. This approach not only guides learners, but also helps us evaluate success accurately. So, whenever you're designing outcomes, remember to check each of these SMART criteria to maximize effectiveness and clarity. When designing assessments, it's crucial to ensure that the outcomes are actually accessible. This means we need to define clear benchmarks for mastery, so both instructors and students know exactly what success looks like. Using specific success criteria helps us avoid vague terms like understand, which can be too broad and difficult to measure. Instead, we should focus on action verbs that are specific and measurable, so progress can be clearly tracked. By setting clear benchmarks and using precise language, we make the evaluation process more objective and meaningful. This ties directly into the overall goal of creating effective assessments that truly reflect student learning and mastery. All right, let's talk about how goals should function within our overall framework. The idea is that goals need to challenge students, pushing their abilities just enough to promote growth without causing frustration or overwhelm. It's important that these goals are connected to the broader curriculum and also relate to real-life situations students might encounter outside the classroom. We also want to keep these goals within a specific time frame, giving students clear deadlines that help them stay focused and motivated. Now, when we talk about defining a timeline, it's about setting realistic, achievable deadlines that make sense for the task at hand. The key is to make these goals relevant to real-world experiences, so students see the purpose and application of what they're learning. And of course, we want these goals to be 100% achievable, relevant, and time-bound, ensuring they're realistic yet meaningful. By aligning goals this way, we help students stay engaged, connected to the bigger picture, and motivated to succeed within a clear schedule. This approach ties back to our overall theme of fostering effective, meaningful learning experiences. All right, let's walk through the budgeting task for Create. First, we start by measuring the actual goal we want to achieve. This is about assessing how well our efforts are meeting the objectives we set. Next, we look at object assessment, which involves evaluating our progress based on specific criteria. We then move to project-based evaluation, where we review the outcomes of particular projects to see how they contribute to our overall goals. Mirror practice tasks are essential here. They help us reflect on the skills we've practiced and how those skills translate into real performance. Moving into ACT assessment, we apply what we've learned to actual activities, continuously checking our progress. To compare different aspects of our work, we use a Venn diagram. This visual tool helps us identify overlaps and gaps by comparing different elements. Practicing targeted skills is another key step. This ensures we're honing in on the areas that need improvement. We also focus on objectivity, which ties our objectives directly to specific activities, making sure everything aligns. Including an example at this stage can clarify how these concepts work in practice. Finally, understanding the purpose behind these steps and the type of alignment we're aiming for helps us connect everything within the broader alignment framework. This framework ensures that all our efforts are cohesive and strategically directed towards our overall goals. Ensuring activities directly support specific objectives is crucial for the success of our project. When we talk about alignment, we're really emphasizing the need to connect each activity with the goals we've set. This way, every effort we make is purposeful and moves us closer to our desired outcomes. It's important to regularly check that what we're doing matches our objectives so that resources aren't wasted on tasks that don't add value. When activities are aligned, it also helps us measure progress more effectively and stay focused on what truly matters. Remember, this alignment is a cornerstone of effective planning and execution, and it reinforces the overall theme of working smarter, not just harder. So always ask yourself, does this activity support our specific objectives? If the answer isn't clear, it might be time to rethink or adjust our approach. Let's take a closer look at how we assess knowledge and skills in this context. We divide this equally, with 50% dedicated to knowledge assessed and 50% to skills practiced. This balance helps ensure we're not only measuring what learners know, but also how well they can apply it. It's important to emphasize that our measures need to be valid, meaning they accurately reflect the skills or knowledge we're trying to evaluate. Validity is key to making sure our assessments are meaningful and trustworthy. Another critical point is activity assessment alignment. This means that the activities learners engage in should directly connect to the assessments we're using. If there's a mismatch, the results won't give us a true picture of their abilities. Overall, these elements work together to create a fair and effective way to evaluate learning, making sure we're truly capturing both understanding and practical skills. Let's take a closer look at Bloom's taxonomy overview. On this slide, we see 3 key levels of cognitive skills. First, we have evaluate and create, which involves making judgments and generating new ideas. This is about critically assessing information and then using that insight to develop original solutions or concepts. Next, there's apply and analyze. Here, we use information in new ways, exploring how different ideas relate to each other. This level encourages us to think deeply about connections and practical uses. Finally, we have remember and understand, which is about recalling facts and explaining concepts clearly. These foundational skills are essential for building higher-level thinking. Overall, Bloom's taxonomy helps us understand how different cognitive processes build on each other, supporting effective learning and problem-solving. Let's take a closer look at these percentages. Apply at 34%, understand at 33%, and remember also at 33%. These figures highlight the importance of foundational lower-order thinking skills. Essentially, they show us that a significant portion of learning involves applying, understanding, and remembering information. These are what we call lower-order skills, and they form the foundation of effective learning. When we focus on these, we're ensuring learners can grasp basic concepts and recall essential facts. It's important to recognize that these skills are the starting point, building a solid base before moving on to higher-order thinking. By emphasizing these foundational skills, we set the stage for deeper learning and more critical thinking as learners progress. All right, let's dive into how we generate new products or perspectives. The key here is to create. That's about coming up with innovative ideas or ways of looking at things. But creation isn't just about inventing out of thin air. It often involves breaking down information to understand its structures and relationships. That's where analyzing comes in. When we analyze, we explore the details deeply, examining how different parts connect and interact. This process helps us see the bigger picture and find new opportunities for innovation. Now, when we combine creating and analyzing, we get a powerful approach called deep learning. Think of deep learning as a cycle. It's creating new ideas, evaluating their effectiveness, and analyzing their underlying structures. This cycle encourages higher-order thinking, which means going beyond simple recall or understanding. It involves evaluating, synthesizing, and applying knowledge in new ways. So, in essence, developing new products or perspectives requires this dynamic process of creating, evaluating, and analyzing. It's about actively engaging with information on a deeper level to foster innovative solutions and new ways of thinking. Let's move beyond simple recall and focus on higher-level thinking skills. Instead of just remembering facts, we want students to engage more deeply with the material. One way to do this is by creating multimedia design projects, which encourage creativity and application. We can also incorporate peer reviews and critiques to help students develop their evaluative skills, learning to assess and give constructive feedback. Additionally, analyzing critical essays or debates pushes students to interpret and critique complex ideas, fostering critical thinking. It's important that the tasks we design match the cognitive depth we're aiming for, and this is where Bloom's taxonomy comes in. By aligning assessment methods with Bloom's levels, we ensure students are not only recalling information, but also analyzing, evaluating, and creating. This approach helps students develop a more comprehensive understanding and prepares them for real-world challenges. Ultimately, our goal is to challenge students to think more deeply and critically at each stage of their learning journey. Let's talk about combining frameworks for cohesive planning. When we talk about practical integration, we're focusing on how to bring different planning methods together in a way that works smoothly. The key here is understanding that no single framework has all the answers, so blending them effectively can lead to more comprehensive and adaptable plans. It's important to identify which elements from each framework complement one another, and then find ways to merge them seamlessly. This might involve aligning goals, processes, or tools so they support each other rather than work in isolation. By doing this, we ensure our planning is not only thorough, but also flexible enough to handle real-world complexities. Remember, the goal is to create a unified approach that enhances clarity, efficiency, and ultimately, the success of our projects. Connecting these points back to our overall theme, effective integration is what turns multiple frameworks into a cohesive strategy that drives better results and sustainable planning practices. Now, let's look at how Bloom's taxonomy guides our learning process, focusing on the create and evaluate levels. These are the highest levels, encouraging us to develop new ideas and critically assess them. When we're creating, we're putting our knowledge into action, like designing something new or solving a complex problem. Evaluation involves analyzing and making judgments about our work or others' work to improve and refine our ideas. Moving on to SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. In this case, our goal is to create 3D models that incorporate at least 3 factors. This means we're not just making simple models, but considering multiple elements that influence our habitat design. Speaking of which, the main goal here is to design a sustainable habitat. That means thinking about how to create a living environment that can support life over the long term without harming the planet. This ties directly into our unit on ecosystems, where we learn about the balance and interdependence of living things and their environments. And for our case study, we're focusing on elementary students. This helps us understand how to simplify complex concepts about ecosystems and sustainability so that younger students can grasp and engage with these ideas effectively. Overall, this slide connects Bloom's highest thinking skills with practical, creative projects like designing sustainable habitats, making our learning both meaningful and impactful. Now, let's take a closer look at the evaluation, analysis, and inquiry components, which make up the core of our approach. Evaluation accounts for about 30% of our process, and it involves assessing the outcomes and effectiveness of the strategies we implement. This helps us understand what's working and what might need adjustment. Analysis, also at 30%, focuses on breaking down the data and insights to uncover patterns or underlying issues. It's about digging deeper to inform our decisions. Inquiry, which makes up the largest portion at 40%, encourages us to ask questions, explore new ideas, and challenge assumptions. It's the driving force behind innovation and continuous improvement. Connecting this to the overall theme, whether we're looking at a historical context, a specific unit, or a case study like this high school example, these three elements, evaluation, analysis, and inquiry, are essential for meaningful understanding and growth. They work together to ensure we're not just observing but actively learning and evolving. When we look at pedagogy foundations, one of the key ideas is how digital tools can really streamline our planning processes. They help us organize and prepare more efficiently, saving us time and reducing errors. But more importantly, these tools also facilitate alignment across our curriculum, ensuring that everything we do is cohesive and targeted towards our learning goals. Another crucial point is how digital tools enable personalized learning. By integrating technology strategically, we can tailor the educational experience to meet the unique needs of each student. This means moving beyond a one-size-fits-all approach and offering more customized support and resources. Overall, these elements connect directly to our broader goal of creating more effective, engaging, and student-centered learning environments. When we leverage technology thoughtfully, we enhance both our teaching strategies and our students' learning outcomes. Let's talk about some simple but effective tools for ongoing feedback in the classroom. Using exit tickets, thumbs up or down, and one-minute papers allows us to gauge student understanding in real time. These quick assessments give us immediate insight into what students are grasping and where they might be struggling. The key idea here is that these methods create ongoing feedback loops, or what we call formative assessment. By incorporating these strategies, we can adjust our instruction as we go, tailoring our teaching to meet students' needs more effectively. This approach keeps the learning dynamic and responsive, ensuring we're not just teaching to the test, but truly supporting student understanding throughout the lesson. Remember, the goal is to use this real-time feedback to make informed decisions, making our teaching more flexible and impactful. Providing multiple pathways to the same learning goal is really at the heart of differentiation. It's about recognizing that students don't all learn the same way or at the same pace. So, instead of expecting everyone to succeed through one single method, we offer different routes, whether that's through varied activities, resources, or supports, that lead to the same understanding. This approach helps ensure that each student can access the content in a way that works best for them, which ultimately boosts engagement and mastery. Differentiation isn't just about making things easier or harder, it's about tailoring the learning experience to meet diverse needs. And as we think about our overall goal of fostering inclusive, effective learning environments, providing multiple pathways is a powerful way to make sure every learner can reach the same high standards, just in their own unique way. All right, let's talk about how we keep improving the curriculum to achieve better results. One of the key strategies we use is iterative revision, which means we don't just set it and forget it. Instead, we continuously review and refine our materials and methods. A crucial part of this process is gathering feedback from students and peer observers. Their insights help us understand what's working and what needs adjustment. This feedback loop ensures we're always aligned with learners' needs and teaching best practices. Another important aspect is stakeholder input. We actively review student performance data to identify gaps or areas where students may be struggling. This data analysis helps us make informed decisions about what to revise or enhance next. All of these steps, collecting feedback, analyzing data, and making iterative revisions, are essential for creating a dynamic, responsive curriculum. This ongoing process supports our overall goal of continuous improvement, ensuring that our teaching strategies and content stay effective and relevant over time.